Did you know there are many things 80s kids could do that today's kids can't? The world has changed a lot since 3 decades ago. Oh my god, the 80s were 3 decades ago. Technology and culture has radically altered the way we do things. What once was pretty normal is now either old-fashioned, taboo, outdated, or weird. From sugary cereals to access to computers, so many things were far and away different. For the 80s kids, it was a beautiful time. For kids today, it will probably look like a foreign universe. Get ready to travel back in time. Here are 25 things 80s kids could do that today's kids can't. #25. Ride in the very back of the vehicle. Let's just start off by saying that car safety standards were a little different in the 80s than today. This is back when station wagons were still a thing and car seats weren't mandatory. When guests were in town, it was completely normal to give all the adults a seat in the car while we kids went in the very back. And I mean very back. No seat, just hanging out together, untethered, bouncing and bumping around, hoping Dad wasn't gonna get in an accident. #24. Share a seat and a seatbelt in the car. Speaking of car safety standards, when adults found themselves in a situation where they wanted kids to use a seatbelt and there was only one spot, guess what? 2 or 3 kids in one spot with one seatbelt. No problem. #23. Get tangled up in the phone cord. I realize some of you might not even know what a phone cord is, but there was a time that not so long ago, phones were connected to a base by a cord. These cords were often stretchy, coiled, and really fun to wrap yourself up in while you're talking to a friend. #22. Eavesdrop on someone's phone call. While phone cords were fun, what wasn't fun was someone listening in on your conversation. On the plus side, if you were sneaky enough, you could totally pick up another phone and listen in on your sister's conversation with her boyfriend. Welcome to a world before the internet, folks. #21. Play outside in the front yard without super strict adult supervision. Gone are the days when mom would let kids out to play in the front yard and only occasionally peek out the window to make sure everything was okay. Now, even if it were a safe place, parents would likely be judged by neighbors and maybe even have the cops called. I once played in gasoline.
That's safe.
I thought it was water. There was a gas station down the road. I didn't know at the time, but it had exploded. So all the gas came rushing down our street. And I'm like, ooh, water. And I go to play in it with my Lego pirate ship.
Okay.
It was gasoline. #20. Eat candy cigarettes. Even with the anti-drug campaigns and the push to make your parents feel bad for smoking around you, it was still fun to play grown-up and smoke candy cigarettes. They had a very distinct flavor that you won't find in any candy today. Sure, you can find them at novelty candy stores sometimes, but you won't find them at your local gas station like we did as kids. Boy, were those things chalky. #19. Play on risky playground equipment. What's a broken arm or leg here and there? Playground equipment wasn't designed for sliding and swinging. It was designed for hanging upside down and swinging from bar to bar high up in the sky. Concrete also wasn't a big deal for flooring. Remember I told you about my broken arm?
Yes.
Came from playing on a playground. 18. Use their brains to find a book at the library. Today, we've got computers to look everything up for us. But if you grew up in the 80s, you likely became best friends with the card catalog to find books at the library. The Dewey Decimal System. For you youngsters that aren't sure what that is, it was a wooden cabinet full of tiny drawers that carried small cards. You sifted through the cards to find the book you wanted using the Dewey Decimal System. Haha! It was a bit more complicated. 17. Discover computers slowly. In the 80s, most kids were lucky if they had a computer in the house. Even if they had one, many had little idea how to use the DOS-based operating system. The computer was like an odd alien object, mysterious and wonderful. Gradually over time, you could discover the different aspects of a computer because they were so new and fresh. It was exciting. Today, of course, computers are everywhere, and the wonder and awe is kinda gone. A computer! Neat. 16. Pull the ends off dot matrix paper. Before inkjet and laser printers, there was an godly noise machine known as the dot matrix printer. To spool the paper through, all dot matrix paper had holes punched in on the ends that would interlock inside the printer and guide it through. Once you had your nice sheet of paper printed, you had the pure, wonderful pleasure of tearing the ends off. Fun fact, we still get to do that at Enterprise. Enterprise still uses dot matrix printers. 15. Experience the joys of chalk. Sure, some kids still use chalk today, but it's rare. In the 80s, chalkboards and chalk abounded. Kids were using it on the playgrounds, their driveways, and everywhere. Chalk is making a bit of a comeback amongst many hipsters today, likely because they remember the days of yore when chalk ruled and markers drooled. Except the smelly markers, those were amazing.
That's a phrase I haven't heard in a long time.
14. Make their parents or grandparents ashtrays in art class. Not only had a lot of art classes disappeared, but the projects were also a bit different from what you'd see today. What's an easy craft that also serves a purpose? An ashtray, of course. While no one was suggesting students smoke, it was almost expected that one of your parents or grandparents smoked. What says I love you more than enabling your elder's smoking addiction? 13. Sip their parents' alcohol like it was no big deal. Want a sip of your mom's sangria? No problem. Have your pops or one of his friends offer you a sip of beer, or even a whole one? Classic party shenanigans. Such was the life of 80s kids. 12. Collect garbage pail kids. Garbage pail kids were pretty much the weirdest collector's toy in the 80s. But guess what? It was also awesome, and kids today have no idea what they missed out on. 11. Play dodgeball at school. Dodgeball isn't just a game you see in the movies. It was actually played in school. You were given participation credit for trying to slam someone with a big bouncy ball. It was awesome, unless you were the last one picked for a team. Then it kind of sucked.
I was the last one picked for a team and it was still awesome.
I have a really cool dodgeball thing. I'll never repeat it, but I was the last one on the team and two people threw a ball. One was high, one was low, and I just did like this move where I like ended up almost horizontal. So the one went above me and the one went below me, and I'm like, I'll never recreate that. 10. Wear slap bracelets as a fashionable accessory. Slap bracelets couldn't count your steps, tell the time, or give you your exact heart rate BPM, but they could magically wrap around your wrist when you slapped it. Plus, they came in a variety of colors and designs. Take that, Apple Watch. You can't slap on your Apple Watch at all.
You can do it once.
9. Eat sugary cereals. The 80s were, in many ways, the golden age of cereals. So many different kinds of cereals came out in the 80s. And I'm here to tell you they were packed with sugar. So much sugar. Parents back then didn't really care either. They just wanted us to sit down and be quiet. Today, of course, cereals are more focused on fiber and vitamins. 8. Wear neon colors in public without judgment. There's neon, and then there's 80s levels of neon. Many of us 80s kids wore enough neon to make current day ravers jealous. Today, if you're a kid wearing too much neon, you'll probably get beat up. 7. Watch Saturday morning cartoons. Saturday mornings were a sacred time for kids. It was the only time we woke up bright and early to sit in front of the television with a bowl of that sugary cereal and watch cartoons non-stop until lunchtime. From Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to Thundercats, the 80s had some of the best cartoons ever. 90s had one Saturday morning though. 6. Sleep on a waterbed. At one time, waterbeds were insanely popular. Today, of course, pretty much no one has them. If you aren't even sure what they are, it's pretty self-explanatory. They're a mattress filled with water. Turns out they're pretty expensive and costly to maintain, so people stopped using them. Still, kids in the 80s got to experience the bizarre feeling of floating on water while they slept. 5. Pack peanut butter in their lunchbox. In some schools, you can't bring peanut butter to school no matter how classic the PB&J is. If there was an allergy, you just crossed your fingers and hoped the person didn't eat peanut butter. 4. Bike anywhere. When you got your first bike as a kid in the 80s, it was the best thing ever. It meant freedom. Your parents didn't care where you went as long as you came back before dinner. You could go to your friends, the gas station down the street, the Barrens, the school playground, the library, and basically anywhere your legs could pedal fast enough to get you there. Today, with a long, sad history of missing kids and kids being kidnapped, parents aren't so willing to let kids wander off too far from home. 3. Use a payphone. You couldn't carry around your landline now, could you? 80s kids carried a chunk of quarters and used payphones to call home if they needed to. Payphones are still around, but it's unlikely any kid today has actually used one. 2. Find Carmen Sandiego. As a tricky way to teach kids both deductive reasoning and geography, schools and parents installed computer video games and told them it would be fun. Turns out it was. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? 1. Select their own Valentine. Kids in school these days either send Valentine's Day cards to everyone or no one. That wasn't the case back in the 80s. You got to choose whom you wanted to give a card to. It was always a social contest to see who received the most cards and who received none. So, 80s kids, what do you miss the most? Other generations, which things on this list are you sad you missed out on? What was better about your generation? Let us know in the comments below, or tweet your answer to us at list25. I can't wait until we get told we're not 80s kids.
Yeah, except I definitely am not an 80s kid.
I was 4, but I mean, there's still stuff in the 90s that rolled over from the 80s. I remember a lot of this. Enjoying our lists? Be sure to click that subscribe button on the bottom right and the notification bell so you don't miss out on new ones every Monday through Friday. Share them with your friends and help us consistently conciliate curiosity. And if you want even more lists, check out these videos here or just head to our website at list25.com. While you're there, make sure to join our newsletter for exclusive lists, prizes, and so much more. You really don't want to miss out on this.